How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On The Ball. Welcome back to another episode of Premier League predictions as we go into week 10 of the Premier League. Me and Sim have a scoring system between us, and the way that scoring works, it's 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result, and at the end of the episode we both pick a star man, and once you pick that man you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. It's 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist, and the scores on the doors at the moment are 142 to 132 in the favour of Sim. But let's get into the weekend's action. I've got some making up to do, and we're going to start off at Selhurst Park, Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur, Friday night football. Sim has gone for 2-0. I've gone for 3-0. Why 2-0?
I actually had 3-0 and I changed it last minute. I just feel like Palace is not an easy place to go, albeit right now they're suffering from a few injuries. I don't think Eze or Elise are going to be back for this game. So I do think it's going to be very difficult for them to get any sort of joy going forward. Defensively, they're fairly resolute, but I think once we break the deadlock, I think we should have enough quality to go win the game, but I don't see it being a rout. So I've gone for 2-0.
Yeah, I've gone for 3-0. I actually had 2-0 written down, but I changed it to 3-0. But I went for 3-0 because I think Palace are not on good form by any stretch of the imagination, especially at home. They've only won one game in their last 5 and only scored 1 goal in their last 5 at home at Selhurst Park. And I envisage it being a bit similar to our trip to Selhurst Park last year, to be honest, where I think we'll take control, we'll be in the ascendancy and we'll score some goals. So I've gone for 3-0. And look, if Palace weren't decimated up front, then I might have gone for a different scoreline, but they're just really unlucky with injuries at the moment and the results are showing it. So 3-0 to Spurs. Sim's gone for 2-0. Let's move on to the West London derby, Chelsea against Brentford. Sim's gone for 1-1. I've gone for 1-0 to Chelsea. I've seen a bit of an uptick in form from Chelsea in recent weeks, especially in their performances. Brentford, yes, they had a good result last weekend, but I do think the quality in the Chelsea team will show this weekend, and I don't know, I think it will be tight, but I think Chelsea will just nick it.
Yeah, I've gone for a draw. I think Brentford away from home at Stamford Bridge will enjoy playing in that kind of fixture, in my opinion. I think we know Chelsea are going to come and try and attack them and press really high. And I think that will suit Brentford. I think they're going to try and hit them on the counter-attack with the likes of Mbeumo and Wissa going back the other way. And they're big threats on the counter as well. And as much as Chelsea are improving, I still see them having a bit of trouble in front of goal with their finishing their chances. I'm still seeing them having trouble with it, even though their goal scoring has improved a bit over recent weeks. You know, against Arsenal, it was still a bit of luck that they had to actually put the ball in the back of the net, and I don't think that's sustainable. So I've gone for 1-1.
And moving on to the next game, again in London, Arsenal against Sheffield United, 4-0. Sim's gone for. Very resounding. Yeah,
unfortunately so. I can't see Sheffield United, the form they're in, how they're playing, keeping Arsenal at bay. Arsenal got a really big win in midweek in the Champions League as well. And even with a few changes, even if they bring in maybe the likes of Trossard or whoever off the bench in some changes, Nketiah, I think they should have enough to seal off the Sheffield United team, and I see it being a few goals as well. Sheffield United are just leaking goals left, right and centre. I know, to be fair, against United they were quite decent, and in some other games they made it difficult for the opposition, like Tottenham as well. But I think Arsenal are going to have way too much for them in this one, and they seem to be coming into this in fairly confident mood. So I've gone 4-0.
Yeah, I've gone for 2-0. I'm not really convinced about Arsenal at home at the moment. I'm not convinced about Sheffield United, to be fair, at all. But I do think that with Arsenal's lack of, I don't know what they lack. It's hard to put your finger on what they're actually lacking at home at the moment, but they don't seem to be blowing teams away by any stretch of the imagination. They drew with Fulham. They just about got over the line against Nottingham Forest, where they could have got back into the game later on in the game. So, look, I see this being an Arsenal win, no doubt about it, but I can see Sheffield United frustrating them at times. So I haven't gone for a resounding 4-0 victory, but I have see them quite comfortably getting over the line at 2-0. Next up is Bournemouth against Burnley in a bottom of the table clash here at the Vitality. Sim's gone for 3-2 to Bournemouth.
Yep. 3-2 to Bournemouth. I think it's a massive game down at the bottom. Both teams know this is pretty much do or die, kind of. I mean, it's a bit hyperbolic, but I mean, at this stage of the season, both teams are really struggling for wins. They know that this fixture, it probably suits both teams. This fixture very open. Both teams like to attack. Both teams know the other like to attack. So I do see an open game, loads of goals. Both teams desperate for a win. I just think Bournemouth home advantage. It's pretty much Iraola's last chance saloon, and I've gone for him to get the victory in this game. I think he's going to really look at Burnley and think he can exploit that. And I think Burnley are conceding way too many goals. Probably Burnley the only team who are worse defensively right now than Bournemouth. But Bournemouth in their own right are having their own struggles. So I see Burnley as well looking at it as an opportunity. But I just think Bournemouth have slightly a bit more quality in the front line. So I've gone for them to take the win.
Yeah, you see, I disagree. I think it's going to be the other way around. I think this could be Iraola's last game, to be honest. And if he does lose at home to Burnley, then where else do Bournemouth really have to go? I think they do need to make a change, to be honest. And look, I think I've not been, I wouldn't say I've been impressed with Burnley, but I like the way they play their football sometimes going forward. They just leave themselves too vulnerable at the back and too open at the back. But I do like a few number of the players that they do have going forward. Bournemouth, I haven't seen anything in any of their play, to be honest. They seem to be getting battered week in, week out at the moment. Lost to Wolves last week, 3-0 to Everton, 4-0 to Arsenal. 3-1 to Brighton. I mean, they are seriously getting battered week in, week out, where, yeah, fine, Burnley have also been battered in the last 2 weeks, but they seem to be getting more results on the table than Bournemouth are at this moment in time. And I think, yeah, personally, I just like watching Burnley play a lot more than Bournemouth. I feel like Iraola's much more on his last legs than Vincent Kompany is. And look, I actually get the feeling with Burnley, like if they can like just change their philosophy a little bit and keep it more tight at the back, they could be okay this season. But I don't think the same about Bournemouth. So I've gone for Burnley to win this weekend, and I've gone for the sacking of Iraola probably over the next week or so. Next up is Wolves against Newcastle. Sib's gone for 1-0 to Wolves. I've gone for 1-1 here. Wolves have been impressing me this season. At home, they've been doing all right. Newcastle as well. They have had a massive upturn in form. But I think that game against Dortmund will be pretty taxing for them. They lost the 1-0 at home. But look, it's going to be a tough game for both teams, to be honest, but I couldn't really split it.
Yeah, I think Isaac being injured is a big loss for Newcastle.
Do you have Callum Wilson?
Yeah, Wilson's a good striker, obviously. I don't think he's at the same level as Isaac, though, in my opinion, in terms of his all-round play. And if you keep him quiet, all of a sudden he doesn't contribute as much. Isaac's more of an all-round striker. I see that being a big loss coming into this weekend. We saw how resolute Wolves were against Man City when they played against them at home and were really good defensively. And obviously Newcastle had that taxing midweek game, which was a big disappointment to them. They lost 1-0, and that maybe will affect their morale going into this game. And I think Wolves they're full of confidence right now. They're playing at home, and they're playing really well with the likes of Neto and Hwang, and in the front line are really causing teams a lot of trouble. And defensively, they're very, very solid. So I've gone for them to sneak at 1-0 in this one.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game, and maybe the Sandro Tonali news could have an effect as well.
Is that confirmed yet?
I think Romano said today it's confirmed.
As in is it kicked in?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but Romano did say that Tonali is going to miss the Euros 10-month game ban confirmed.
Yeah, but as of now,
I don't know.
Yeah. Here we are. Breaking news on Sky Sports. Tonali will be banned. It says will be, but it doesn't say when it is.
It doesn't say is banned.
Yeah.
All right. But look, I think it still could have an effect on the team either way, whether it's kicked in or not. But moving on to West Ham against Everton. Sim's gone for 2-2. I've gone for 2-1 to West Ham. And I think quality will shine through in this game. West Ham haven't won over the last 2 games, albeit they have had very hard fixtures. Everton put in a fairly resolute display away at Anfield, but I feel like that was because it's the Merseyside derby and they always get themselves pumped up for that game, even though they don't ever rarely get a point in there. But I think going to the London Stadium, going to West Ham as much as they haven't had good results over the last 2 games, I still think they'll have their tails up, and I think the quality will shine through. I think West Ham are much a better side.
I agree, West Ham are a better side, but Everton having the benefit of a few extra days rest, whereas West Ham had the midweek European games. I see it being a bit of a slog for West Ham because Everton are a very resolute side away from home. We saw what they did to Brentford a few weeks ago, winning 3-1 in a very impressive display. And I see them getting a bit of joy in this game as well, away from home with Harrison's coming into a bit of form at the moment on the wings with McNeil as well. Everton, they need a result massively. I don't think a draw is going to be enough to kind of get them back in a positive mood, but I see them playing well enough to get a draw. I think West Ham will have their good moments, obviously. I'm sure they'll probably dominate the game, but I can see them being a bit frustrated by the end result in this one. So I've gone for 2-2.
All right, moving on to Villa against Luton. Sim's gone for 3-0. I've gone for 4-0. Why 3?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the midweek, I'm not sure what kind of team Villa will play, but I see them, doesn't really matter anyway, whether they rest players or not. I can't see anything but a Villa win against Luton at home. I think this will be their 12th win in a row if they do get this victory, which shows how amazing they've been at home and how formidable they are. I can't see Luton scoring a goal. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to penetrate the Villa back line, and the form that Watkins, Diaby are in at the moment, even maybe Bailey off the bench as well. He's playing quite well. I just can't see Luton being able to keep any sort of resilience in the back line. But I've only gone for 3-0. I don't know. I just went for 3. Not any real reason.
I went for 4. I think it's going to be a battering at Villa Park this weekend. They are just playing some sublime stuff at home. They seem to be scoring goals for absolute fun at Villa Park as well. Luton, to be fair to them, they have kept things tight over the last 3-4 weeks, but I think it will change this weekend coming up against the really informed Villa side with the likes of Ollie Watkins, who's absolutely on firing form at the moment. His relationship and his link-up play with Moussa Diaby is looking really good at the moment, and I just can't see anything but a battering, so I just went for one more goal than you in 4-0. Next up is Brighton against Fulham. I've gone for 3-1 to Brighton. I'm not liking the look of Fulham whatsoever. I do kind of see them nicking a goal from somewhere, not too sure why, but maybe it's just because Brighton are so open at the back and I can see them nicking one from somewhere. But I think Brighton, the way they play their football, gung-ho style of play, absolutely they'll be all over Fulham in this game, and I can see them getting quite a few goals. Yeah,
well, I've only gone for 1-0. I see this actually being a bit of a slower game. I think Fulham will set up to frustrate. I saw how they played on Monday night, and they actually were getting a bit of joy trying to hold Tottenham out for a few moments, but obviously the quality shone through in the end. Brighton, I see that being the case, but I do see it being Brighton dominating possession, having chances, but at the moment I've got a feeling that Fulham might be able to hold out, but I see Brighton breaking their resistance eventually, but I only see it being 1-0. I don't see Fulham scoring. I just can't see where the goals are coming from at the moment, albeit Brighton's defence isn't the best, so I'm sure they might have some opportunities, but I'm looking at the Fulham front line and they're just such a lack of quality, so I've gone for 1-0 Brighton.
Next up, we go to Anfield, and it's Liverpool against Nottingham Forest, and me and Sim have gone for the exact same scoreline here in 3-0 to Liverpool. I don't think this one is really too hard to predict. I mean, Liverpool are going really well this season. Nottingham Forest have gone off the boil a bit in recent weeks, so that's just my reasoning behind it.
Yeah, I agree. I can't see Forest getting a result in this one or getting a goal even. They were in decent form, but they're now all of a sudden, especially with Aoyoni not being fit. I don't know if he's fit for this weekend, but he hasn't been fit for the last few game weeks, and they've really struggled to make an impact in the front line. Liverpool, I think they'll have some players back for this game as well after maybe suspensions and whatnot. I think they're just going to be way too much for Nottingham Forest. I can't see anything but a resounding Forest loss or Liverpool win.
And last but not least, it is probably the biggest game of the weekend, which is the Manchester derby at Old Trafford. Manchester United against Manchester City. Sim has gone for 3-1 to Man City. Quite convincing.
Yeah, I've gone for confident Man City win. Man United at the moment, even when I know they got a win in midweek against Copenhagen and they got a win on the weekend
just
against
about
Sheffield United. Again, both games, I'm just not convinced by them. They're getting wins, but only by the skin of their teeth, and they don't seem very convincing at the moment. I think Man City, even them, they're not playing their best at the moment, but I think they should maybe come up trumps in this one. And with Haaland up front, I just can't see anything but a City taking all 3 points in this one. So 3-1.
Yeah, I can also only see City taking all 3 points, but I do envisage it being a bit tighter than maybe people expect. This game at Old Trafford, when then these two come loggerheads together, it usually is just split by the odd or 2 goals. Last season, nobody gave Man United a chance in this game, and they went and won the game 2-1. But I do think Man City will have too much quality. Both of them, like you say, are not playing their greatest football at the moment, but obviously Manchester City are on such a higher level than Man United at the moment. It's hard to go against them. So I've gone for 2-1 to Man City. But let's move on to the star men. Sim's gone for big Dom Solanke.
Solanke, Bournemouth need this win against Burnley. I'm sure there'll be space for him. I'm sure he's going to be up for it. So I've gone for Solanke to get a goal or two against Burnley at home.
And I have gone for Moussa Diaby, not for Bayer Leverkusen, but for Aston Villa at home to Luton. I predicted 4-0. I've already picked Ollie Watkins, so I had to find someone else in the Villa team, and I think Moussa Diaby is the second best player to go to. I mentioned the relationship that they're striking up on the pitch before, and I think that will come to the fore in this game where Ollie Watkins and Moussa Diaby will have a lot of say in this game. So I've gone for Diaby. Sim's gone for Solanke. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I want to know your predictions, and I want to know your star men as well. But thank you everyone for joining us today, and we'll see you next